And welcome to the Barry Foster Show. We are not in the Ridge Florist Studios in beautiful downtown Avon Park, the city of charm. We are at the Strangely Warmed Coffee Roastery and Lab, just off the Circle in downtown Sebring, with my friend Steve Slaybaugh. Steve, good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you again, Barry.
Yeah, you know, since we were here last time, you have really come up. You've got a new roasting machine. You've got a new decaf. You got a lot of new products.
Yes, sir. Yes, we're growing, and the business is doing well. Our roaster went from a 10-pound roaster to a 33-pound roaster. It's got telemetry with it, so we make sure that all our roast profiles are the same every time. And our decaf is a lot of people drinking our decaf that couldn't drink coffee for a while.
Let's talk about this new roaster. That's been like a month you've had that, give or take?
About 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks. Is it easier now to do large batches like this?
Absolutely. It's cut our roasting time way back, and it'll do 30 pounds where our other one would do 10 pounds. The roast profile is more even. We're seeing the color of the beans a lot more even than they had been, and less oil on the coffee beans.
Does that now give you more options for how light or how dark you roast the different brands you have here?
The roast temperature stayed about the same as on the older roaster. What really gives us the advantage, we've got a lot of roaster time available to those who would want to bring their own beans in and have them roasted, other companies. So that's what really has we've ramped up.
So do people bring their own beans in to have them roasted?
Occasionally, when our private label K-Cup customers sometimes ship their own beans in and have us do them.
Are you doing it for other companies now as well? So
we are doing for a few, and there again, with our K-Cup machine, we have a lot of time on there that we could run private label K-Cups for others.
So you're well on your way to world conquest?
Well, we're headed that way.
Let's talk about the decaf. I was watching one of your videos, and I had not realized that the way that you do decaf is significantly different from the decaf that you see in the grocery mart, for instance.
Yes, sir. So ours is called Swiss water process, and we have it in the Peru. So it's shipped from Peru to Vancouver, Canada, and it's a water process. So they soak the beans with some, no chemicals, but some enzymes in the water, and then they run it through a carbon filter. And the good thing of it is it doesn't rob the coffee of its flavor notes. The flavor notes are still there. That's why you could not tell the difference between a regular Peru and the decaf Peru. Other processes, they use things like formaldehyde and acetates, which is not good. And even though they say the amounts that they use is okay, the buildup after time is not okay. So, and then it also robs it of the flavor notes. There's no flavor notes left in that coffee.
I have to tell you that we use the Peru blend, as you know, and we've taken to where I get a cup of coffee and then my wife takes the second cup. Mm-hmm. It's just as good as the first cup, but it has a lot less caffeine in it that way.
Yes. Well, the darker the roast, the less caffeine. That's just different than what people would think. The light roast or the cold brew has the most caffeine in it.
So now you have from all over South America and Africa too? Is that right?
We haven't done any African coffee. We are Central and South American. We have 5 origins. We started with the Peru, then we added the Colombia, the Honduras, the Guatemala, and now Nicaragua.
Are there favorites now? Do people come in and say, well, I simply must try that Nicaraguan blend?
Some do, and there's several have branched out into liking the Colombia better and things, and we like that. But our Peru that we started with is still our very best seller and still my favorite.
Is it based on latitude and longitude, or is it based on altitude? Or?
It's based on sensory notes. So professional people taste the coffee and they say that this one has dark chocolate, pear, and brown sugar. I can taste the difference in the dark chocolate between the milk chocolate. I can taste the difference in the citrus. I don't taste the pear. I don't taste pomegranate and all these other crazy notes they come up with.
My sensory is not that good. I just know whether it tastes good or not. And we like the Peruvian. as we were talking before we went on, our associate pastor grew up in Kenya, and his parents are still missionaries in Kenya. And he likes his coffee very, very strong. In fact, he said he uses 4 scoops of instant to get it as strong as he likes. Do you have something here that could be that? I think bold is the word.
Yes, our French roast goes to a temperature of 450. And that's on the edge of burnt, but it's still being the specialty high altitude coffee, has no harsh or acid taste to it.
So with this new roaster that you have, have you had trial and error, or does the instruction manual tell you don't go above this or don't go longer than this?
This has been a very smooth transition, amazingly, with new equipment like that. We did change the roast temperature on the dark roast just a little bit. We made it just a little bit darker, and it's worked out just perfect. So we go a lot by color of the roast. So we at medium roast goes to 410. Now dark roast goes to 435, and then French roast goes to 450. So now we have the telemetry captured, and now everything will be exactly the same each time.
So while I have you here, how is the coffee harvest gone this year? Has it been a good year for coffee?
It's not been a good year for coffee. Brazil supplies 40% of the world's coffee. Most of it is the commodity coffees like Folgers, Maxwell House, Nestle's. Those are the big guys. And so they had a bad crop because of less rain. And then, so the specialty coffees had to make up the difference. And so in October, and this was before the tariffs were even a thing, the coffee prices spiked really high. So, and now they've come back down a little bit, but tariffs are about to go into action here soon on some of them. And so, yes, coffee prices are high. Usually when prices spike that high, they never come clear back down.
Of course not. But I was going to ask you, because tariffs seem to be a moving target as countries begin to make deals with the United States. Have the tariffs been that way? Have you seen tariffs kind of come down as some of the countries you mentioned earlier have made trade deals with the United States?
Almost every place in Central South America where we get our coffee from is 10% tariffs, other than Brazil. And for whatever reason, I don't know, their tariff is 50%. So that's going to have an effect on the specialty market also. Most of their coffee is not specialty, and so if the tariffs are really high and you can buy the specialty coffee at a same price as the commodity coffee, that's what people are going to do.
I know that you have quite a good quality control program here with your moisture meters and other things. Because of the fact that the coffee is going to be in short supply, does that mean you're going to have to really ramp up the quality control to make sure you don't get anything with like mold or something else in it?
That's what when we buy through the middleman, we have that protection. We had one source of coffee at one time came, and the beans are all different sizes, and that's not specialty coffee, and we was able to send it back. If I buy directly from the farmer, I don't have that luxury to do that. Now, we've been trying to buy from the farms as much as we can. We'd like to do that. The trouble of it is the organic certification costs between $5,000 and $10,000 per farm per season, and little farmers just can't afford that. So what we get is coffee that's organically grown, not certified, and the organic organization does not like that wording.
I had a lady who grew peaches, and she says, we're not, no pesticides, no herbicides, no fungicides. And I said, why aren't you organic? And she said, it costs too much. So she just assured us that they didn't use any of that stuff on their crops because, as you say, it costs a lot to be organic. But now I understand that you are in the process of not having to import coffee, but in fact seeing coffee grown right here in the Sunshine State.
That's a very big possibility. It's a few years out. The test plots are going to take about 6 years before they really know for sure what they have in the way of coffee. And the University of Florida is doing a lot of experimenting. So just 2 weeks ago, my wife and I went to a test plot up at Pearson, Florida, and saw all the different plants and the things they're working with, the shading, the fertilization, and all kinds of things to try to get the coffee plants to adapt to the Florida heat and the frost if that happens. And their plants are looking really good. And it's a good possibility that some of the test plots are going to be coming here to Highlands County.
Now, you've had at least one plant here for some long time. You had it inside, and now you've got it outside.
Yeah, we've had a plant that the actual seeds came from Ecuador or El Salvador, and we've had it for a year and a half, and it's outside as happy as it can be, and so we're keeping it shaded a bit. The plant's like 40% shade, and we also put a banana plant right next to it for more shade. That's what they do in South America a lot. So we're really excited. So we brought 5 plants home with us, and so we're going to have a small plot right here at the roastery so people can see. So possibly this coming spring they'll begin to the flowers on them will bloom. They're really beautiful, covered with white flowers, and so we're just really excited to see what's going to take place.
So you have 1 from Ecuador and 5 from Pearson, Florida. Is that right?
El Salvador.
1 from El Salvador and 5 from Pearson, Florida.
Yeah, and I don't know the origin of those beans exactly where they came from, but they are the Arabica plant, and the Arabica is known for its really good taste, its good flavor notes.
Now, how far north is Pearson from where we're sitting right now?
It's about 2 hours north.
So
It's
does that put it-
up at DeLand.
Does that put them in zone 8, or are they still in zone 9 up there? Do you know?
For the frost,
Yeah.
it's in a cold territory up there,
Yeah.
but they grow ferns up there also, so they're used to being prepared for that.
Because where we are right on the cusp of the difference between zone 9 and zone 10. I think the imaginary line runs just north of Lake Placid. And so if you're growing tropical plants, that's really good because there's not as much chance of a hard freeze. You get gets pretty chilly sometimes, but not a really hard freeze. Up there, it can get pretty cold. Does the cold hours, are they doing something to make it they can grow in fewer cold hours?
The plants can handle some cold. Just not a freeze. They wouldn't take the freeze. But the citrus guys around here, they've been used to that. They know how to deal with that. So I mean, their knowledge and know how to deal with that and the caladium farmers. So we're used to dealing with that.
Now, your dream, I guess, is to start with some quarter-acre plots in Highlands County. Is that right?
Yes. So they've started with Pearson. They have several plots there. And there's 1 plot going to be in Homestead, and then 1 in Fort Pierce. So I'm really working with them at the University of Florida to try to get about 4 plots right here, 4 or 5 plots right here in Highlands County, hopefully spread between 1 in Lake Placid, Sebring, and Avon Park, so that the whole county is involved in this product.
Being here at the end of the ridge, do we have them on altitude a little bit, maybe?
Well, that is a little bit of a curiosity because specialty coffee has to grow above 4,000 feet up to about 5,600 feet to be considered specialty, and I think we're about 115 feet above sea level. But they're taking that into consideration. Also, with the mountain-grown coffee, it's a little cooler because of the altitude, and the beans grow slower because of less oxygen. So, that's a concern that they're having to work through these things to see if they can take the full heat. If you can imagine a whole full orange grove full of coffee plants, it's going to be pretty hard to shade that whole thing. So they're working with plants that they're going to take the heat. And my little El Salvador plant out here, it hasn't always had shade and things, and it's looking really good.
We have a mutual friend who has tried to grow many different kinds of crops, some exotic, some not exotic, but he does have some coffee beans growing, some coffee plants growing. Have you gotten with him and talked to him about how does he have his undercover? Does he have?
He's got the banana plants around him, and yes, he's brought them in here after he took the cherry and depulped them and washed them and brought them to us, and we sample roasted them. And we actually sent some of his coffee off to a laboratory in New York, and they tasted it and gave us the tasting notes. Now, instead of being a milk chocolate or a dark chocolate, they called it baker's chocolate, which we know has just a little bitter to it. But it cupped pretty well. Especially coffee has to be above 80 and his was at a 76. So even that, it was not bad coffee. And then we was able to K-cup about 75 of them for him so he can enjoy that.
Do we know where those plants originated? What their genesis was?
Yeah, those were the El Salvador plants.
Those were also
and that's
El
where I
Salvador.
also got my start from. He brought me a plant.
Now, in the time you've had your plant, has it ever flowered? Have you ever gotten any beans off of
It takes about 3 years for it to come to the very first crop, so we're a year and a half in.
Well, we had a gentleman from Puerto Rico who was at the church we attended, and he had to move back to Puerto Rico, and he bequeathed us a plant from his grandmother's plantation, and we did get 5 beans off it.
Okay.
We did get 5 beans off it at one point, but then a freeze came and it was just gone, and I was so sad. And now I'm really kind of delighted to hear that this is going to be a possibility here. Do they have any kind of special irrigation things that they need to have done to them? Or?
No, just regular irrigation, and they're still, at the test plots, they're still hand fertilizing, so they haven't run it through the watering system yet. But some places like the orange groves are probably already set up for that. So, yeah, they're working on it. They have one plant that they've tried some kind of a spray on it as calling a sunscreen to take the heat. And those plants look pretty healthy when I saw them.
So if somebody wants to say, I've been growing watermelons, I've been growing citrus, I've been growing something else, and I have a quarter acre to try to be involved with this. What does it take to be involved in this program?
We just need to have a picture where the plot is actually, and that is already irrigated. And they can apply just along with the other ones we've already submitted. Now, I don't know how many plants they're going to have available at this time, but I know they have a nursery. They're growing small plants, and so those things are coming on, but it's going to take a 6-year commitment for somebody doing this. And grant money's been cut way back from the federal government, so there's not going to be a lot of grant money. So it's going to take about an hour or about 2 to 3 hours a week just to maintain the plants and things, and that's a 6-year commitment. But as they said, those that get in on the test plots are going to be the ones that get first selected for the crops if this thing really takes off.
We've seen the sad decline of the citrus industry here, and it would seem to me that there are some agriculturalists who have been looking for other kinds of plants. They've looked at elderberries, they've looked at blueberries, they've looked at a number, and blueberries are something that has to be grown under screening, because a flock of cedar waxwing can strip your entire crop in like 10 minutes, and it's gone. So they have, those are well screened in. So do you have citrus guys come and say, I'd really like to, Steve, I'd like to try this. Don't worry if I'll buy, 100 plants for a quarter acre, you reckon?
Yeah, I'm not sure the number of plants, but yeah, we do have one citrus guy that is interested, that is well connected with the university, and we have one caladium company from Avon Park that's interested.
Do you know, is this better in citrus soil, like the dry sandy soil, or the caladium style muck? Do you have an idea of what kind of soil you need to put these in?
The Arabica plant surprisingly loves sand. Go figure that.
And so you can put them in for a quarter acre, and it'll be 3 years before you start seeing the first beans. Is that what it is?
Yep.
And then 6 years before they become like mature plants, if you will? And how much do you figure that, like, if you have a 6-year-old mature quarter acre plot, how much beans can you get 100 pounds off there, you think?
I really don't have any idea with that. We'll know on five plants. We'll figure it out from there.
Are there any other, where would be the closest coffee growing to Florida now? Would it be Puerto Rico or?
Puerto Rico has some. It's not real high altitude coffee. And Mexico grows a lot of coffee. And then you got your Central Americans, of course, Colombia. Everybody knows about Colombia. And that's, I think that's the second biggest supplier of coffee after Brazil.
So would it make sense that you would look at the plants that are growing well in Puerto Rico or in northern Mexico to match where Florida is on the face of the earth?
Yeah, they're really looking at the Colombia. The professor is a 4th generation coffee family, in Brazil, but that's mostly lower altitude coffee, about 3,000 feet. They harvest most of that with farm equipment. So right next to them then is Colombia. So they're very aware of the tasting notes and the popularity of Colombia coffee. So they're leaning that way too with the Arabica.
Are there some varietals that are more hardy than others that can take it?
The Robusta plant is much more hardy, but they've never been known for their really good coffee. So they're working with that because it is more hardy, and it can grow at lower altitudes.
So it's kind of a trade-off there.
It is.
So how much of this comes in the processing? I mean, are you able to get coffee beans that traditionally aren't necessarily that good, but you put them in your new super duper roastery you have over here, and hey, they turned out pretty well.
Yeah, well, the big guys, they've got that all figured out. So they put a little flavor in it, or as I'm told, McDonald's puts a little something in their coffee to make it taste more like coffee, and so yeah, there are ways doing that. We don't do that, and we don't make the flavored coffees and things with our specialty coffee.
So if somebody's listening to the program and they say, I wouldn't mind getting involved with this, do they call you here at the Strangely Warmed Roastery and Lab to get involved?
They can, and I can turn them in the right direction if they're interested. That'd be good. I want to see the whole community get involved in this. I'd like to see a sign right out there by the 12 Hours of Sebring sign on the edge of town. They're saying, coffee capital of Florida.
Real Florida coffee?
Yeah.
Now, can I mention the fact you're trying to get the kids involved in this?
Yeah.
You've reached out to the school board to see if you can get some Red Devil, some Blue Streak, and some Green Dragon coffee. Is that right?
Exactly.
Has there been much interest in that?
Well, we just made the presentation just a week ago, so we had to send them quite a bit of information about what we're proposing, where the plots are, and then they will decide when they will come to Sebring and look at the plots and decide where we go from there.
Now, you mentioned 3 hours of maintenance a week on it. What are we talking about? Weeding? Are we talking about what kind of maintenance are you talking about?
They said on a quarter of acre, about 2 to 3 hours a week, and so there'll be some pruning going on, there'll be fertilization, there'll be certainly weeds, they'll be looking for any insect damage and those kind of things.
So how long before we see some blooms on your plants out here, you reckon?
I'm hoping that this coming spring, next spring, that we will start seeing blooms on there.
And how many pounds do you get off a plant itself? Can you get a pound of coffee off one plant? Or?
I don't know. The young plants, it's not going to be a lot to start with. So the plants are usually good, I guess, for about 20 years. And so the older they get, the bigger the crop. So I don't know what to expect. It'll probably just be a handful of cherries to start with. But if we just get a handful, that's going to be really exciting.
If you get your own cup of coffee, you're going to be really a happy guy.
That's right.
So now the way they are, they're very friendly here in front of the office here. They're very close. Are you going to have to find a place to stretch them out a little bit? Can you use the adjoining lot? Or?
I'm going to. I took some plants out of just our regular shrub bed, and I'm going to put a screen over that, and we're going to have our 6 plants out there just all lined up together. So I got enough room for that, and that's about it.
Now, if let's say I'm a guy like me, I've got some acreage. Well, not acreage. I've got like almost an acre out in my house, and let's say I wanted to get a half dozen or so plants. Can I go to the University of Florida and buy them, or do I go through you to buy some plants and put them in the ground?
That would be the test plots in Pearson,
Okay.
Where I was able to purchase mine. So it just depends on how many they're willing to part with. I do have a friend here in town that bought a coffee plant down at Homestead at the great big nurseries and things down there, and he has one here in Sebring that has already got cherries on it.
So how do you grow new coffee? Are they from cuttings? Are they from the beans? Or how does that work exactly?
It comes from the beans. They tried cuttings, and it's not been very successful. But when we were in Colombia, some of the trees that had kind of aged out, they had cut them back to just a stump, and then they're able to graft them into that, and that's been very successful. Really accelerates the growth.
So if I go and I find a coffee plant that's got some beans on, I can take and plant the magic beans. I might get some Floridian coffee out of it. Is that?
Well, yeah, the beans are going to come from some origin. It's not going to come from Florida, But you take every cherry has two what we call beans that are technically seeds, because you put them in planting soil, keep it nice and damp, and it takes about 2.5 months for them to finally germinate and start growing.
So in Pearson, have they gotten coffee yet out of the coffee plants there? Have they produced it and you've tried it?
They have somewhat, and I don't know. I think University of Florida has their own test plots, but I know that they've been able to sample test some of the coffee. And they've had tasters on a panel that they judge it to see what they think of it. And so, yes, they have. I just don't know what quantities of that.
This is really exciting. Will Little Bambino be there for the big tasting?
Little Bambino will be there.
Congratulations on your new mascot, by the way.
All right. Well, the college kids said if we wanted to reach their generation, we got to have stickers. So we developed Mr. Bambino.
I have a Bambino sticker on my notepad.
Yep.
I said that's so I can identify it as mine. Steve, this is really exciting. Number one, to see that you've gotten so much new equipment, and does that mean more sales now? Are you cranking out the K-Cups like crazy?
Well, we used to do K-Cups about once a month, and now we're doing them pretty much once a week, anything. So we still got a lot of room on there if we want to do private label and things, but that little machine will put out 1,000 cups every 30 minutes, so we've got a lot of time.
And so have many people taken you up on the QR codes on top of their K-Cups?
We've got probably 20 of them over there that have their own private label, and now that business is starting to repeat, so we still have lids for them and with their own printed lids, and so that's getting to be a repeat business now.
All right, have you got your gift boxes set up in time for Christmas?
The gift boxes just shipped today from the producer. They just shipped, so we're going to have them plenty of time.
I'm gonna get some that have the Barry Foster show on them. I think that's a great marketing technique that you can get your QR code with a landing page right on top of your K-Cup, so that while your coffee's brewing, you can just go to the site and look at everything that's going on, and then enjoy some strangely warmed coffee roasted right here in beautiful Sebring, Florida. And pretty soon it'll be Floridian coffee roasted right here.
That will be an exciting day.
I can't hardly wait. Steve,
I can't wait for the annual coffee festival on the Circle.
You know, I think that's a good idea. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Look, just show up right down here, just off the Circle. Strangely warmed coffee, roastery and lab. Look for Little Bambino. Or on the front, it's you and Al, right? Mm-hmm. And overlooking the coffee, making sure that everything is okay with the coffee plants.
That's right.
Steve, we appreciate you so much.
All right. Thanks, Barry.
We've been on the road here at Strangely Warmed Coffee, Roastery, and Lab. This is Barry Foster looking for truth, justice, and the American way, made in America. And we'll see you next time.